Welcome back to Heber Valley Life Podcast, where we share the stories of people who are shaping our community, past, present, and future. Today, I'm joined by Lana North, who serves as the Communications and Informatics Specialist for the Wasatch County Health Department. Lana comes from a long line of Heber Valley families, generations of farmers, ranchers, and educators. She's a graduate of Wasatch High School and BYU, Idaho, and is currently working on her master's at Utah State. She has seen firsthand the growth and change that has taken place in our valley. Today, she's stepping into a leadership role, helping our community make informed health decisions and strengthening connections between public health and the people it serves. Lana, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. It's so fun to be here today.
Lana, I had the opportunity to meet Lana while she was in high school. She was a volunteer with the Rotary, I believe, and you were in that. What was the group?
Interact.
Yeah. Which was a service-oriented group at the high school level that works with Heber Valley Rotary. And I remember at a breakfast looking over, and Lana was the most organized high school student I ever met. She had all of her schedule color-coded based on class, responsibilities, leadership. And I think that boded well for you. I think you've done very well as you finished high school, went on to college. And I love that you're back here in Heber Valley, married. Your husband,
Parker.
John's, we love John. John's a stick. John and I go to high school together. So that's the connection I always make with Parker North. Mm-hmm. And you're here working, but I want to understand your roots. As I mentioned, you're a combination of two great families. You come from the Horners and the McNaughtons. And just tell us about growing up here in the Heber Valley and what that meant to you as having this long line of families, basically settlers of this valley.
Oh man, this is a good question. Thinking about my roots, I always, how you put on like a jersey of like the team that you represent and what that looks like, what that means for you. I think growing up here in Heber Valley with the family that I've been surrounded by has been like the best team jersey that I could have put on. Growing up, we have a lot of memories with my cousins. We always gathered a lot. We did lots of fun things together. It would be growing up on the family farm. My McNaughton's side, they would always do family home evenings together. Every Sunday, we'd get together and have a barbecue or a meal.
And these are not small gatherings.
No.
I mean, these are 20, maybe 30, even 40 people. I mean, at its everyone.
Yes. This is the whole clan.
We're talking almost 80 people.
Yes. It was quite the shindig. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the movie Trolls 2?
Yes.
So it's like, infamously known as like the worst horror film ever made. I still get a kick out of that, thinking of family farm. Growing up, we would watch that movie together on the property, and they would tell us stories. So that was always good old time.
In high school, we watched Arachnophobia in the barn, milking barn.
Yeah,
and so not quite Trolls 2, but definitely scary. Yeah, but how fun to have those memories of growing up and visiting the family farm and then just gathering with the family.
Absolutely. That's kind of the core. And also like the recreation. I feel like that was a big part of growing up here. We were always, here is where I learned how to water ski, how to surf. I learned to really enjoy just like growing up on the trails. Everything that's been around here, it's been kind of like the ideal childhood, I guess. It's been awesome.
Now, your mom's side, the Orners, Harvey and Sherry, also ranchers, farmers, long line of pioneer stock. Let's talk about kind of Grandma Sherry. And you mentioned earlier that they were ranchers and had a lot of property here in the valley. You've grown up with these pioneer stories. And I know that Harvey continues to tell them because just finished out serving with the Preservation Commission. But how has that made you understand our valley better?
I think it's helped me recognize how it's changed in beautiful ways and in different ways, right? I think going from even in high school helping, do pipes and different things like that across river roads.
When you're talking pipes, you're talking
The sprinklers and yes.
So I did that in high school with the McNaughton family, and it's not as glamorous as it looks. Usually very wet and muddy. And
fun.
I feel like we've lost a little bit of that. There's not a lot of churn sprinklers anymore. And yet that was all part of the water rights, right? You can only use water at certain times. That could be 2 in the morning, that could be 6 in the morning, that could be 8 o'clock at night. So I didn't realize that they were still churning water when you were in high school.
They did a little bit of them, kind of swaggle with my brothers, and we'll pick up trucks and we go change water. But I think it's also fun because, I mean, let's be real, going over to friends' houses that are now in those locations, it's like, oh, guess what? Our families have sheep running along here, or guess what? This used to be here. It's fun seeing how roots can also be an opportunity for me to connect with people in different ways. And I guess I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not had family maybe that grew up here.
Yeah.
It's been an easy connection, I guess.
Yeah. Does it hurt a little, though, to see where once you were turning sprinkler pipes, and that was maybe 6 years ago, now is a field of homes?
I think it's definitely hard to see places that maybe were where I could have look at the stars or see different things a little bit easier. But I also wouldn't change not having the friends that I do now that are maybe in those places. So it's like, yes, it's like maybe the combo hack, it's like good, but also hard.
No, I think it's important that you recognize that those homes now have good people in it. That you now build relationships with, and they wouldn't be there had that development not happened.
Yeah.
Earlier we were talking about your dad, Ben McNaughton, who's a dentist here in town. When he and his brothers and sister moved back to the area, their dad, Bill, was in the Army. And I remember Heidi telling me the story of, traveling all over as military families do. And Bill really wanted to come back. And he was successful in the Army, retired, brought the boys back to raise them on the farm. And I think that was really instrumental in their lives as high school students. So that's when I met the McNaughton family, was there in high school. And you have an interesting story about your dad's goals in life and wanting to run the farm and then making a pivot. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So his intention, he and my mom, they went to Oregon for dental school and then they moved back here wanting to start a practice where their kids could grow up having some of those similar experiences he had had in his childhood of just that hard work, working on a farm, getting your hands dirty, having a good time learning those skills. So he moved here, and I want to say, sweeten your mercy, I feel like I need to get the timeline out, but he moved when my brothers were both little. They moved here to Heber, and then I was born shortly after. And when they moved, the challenge was my grandpa was diagnosed with cancer. And I actually was the last grandbaby that was born before he passed away. And that brought a pretty unique challenge as far as he was here. They built a house. They were ready, thinking, anticipating their dad would live so many more years. But sadly, grandpa passed away in his 60s. And so there had to be kind of a shift of, okay, what's my new purpose here? Because it wasn't going to necessarily be farming in the long term because grandpa's not there to kind of keep things running and manage. And as wonderful as Grandma High is, that was too much for her to do. And so they, as a family, I assume they counseled together to figure out what would be the best thing for our family. And we ended up having to sell the farm. But it was cool because we all got to be a part of helping Grandma get her new house, and we have so many memories up there. And I think that was kind of the pivot, was realizing that landscape is wonderful. Having land and those memories were beautiful, but even perhaps more meaningful was recognizing the people that are a part of it. And so they made a really conscious effort to do lots of family gatherings, lots of us. I mean, we always were serving and helping a family member do some type of project. And so that's kind of where the passion was poured. It was if we don't necessarily get to pour passion into farm work and working hard there, how can we work hard to serve the community?
I love that. And it's true. And the family really has done that. I'm going to bring up Matt McNaughton. Yeah. Matt is the butter artist at the Utah State Fair. And I love that he has really channeled his farming passion into his art. He now lives in southern Utah with his family in the San Juan County area. But every year, Matt has come back and done the butter sculptures at the Utah State Fair. And I think so much of Matt's artistry comes out of his background as a farmer. And it's interesting when you say we found other ways to share that love and that passion of farming. I think Matt's a great example of that, continuing that legacy and all of his little creatures, but especially in the butter statues that you see at the Utah State Fair. I also think it's interesting that the McNaughton family, as they gathered, and I remember that being such a difficult time. Bill was a ecclesiastical leader here in our community, had giant hands.
Oh, yeah.
But so often talked about his love for farming, but family first and God first. And I think that's reflective of the children and the decisions that they had to make. And it was not an easy decision. And I think it's interesting, so often we forget about the people that own this land. And look at me. Just the decisions that they have to make, the hard decisions about making that transition from farming to something else. As we know, that land is now part of the Red Ledges private golf community, a gated community of beautiful homes and beautiful people. But it did change the landscape. It became something else. And I'm grateful for my memories, for everything gotten from. All right. Well, okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of things just about growing up here in this community. You had a front row seat in a lot of the changes that have happened. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
Oh, brother. Good changes that I love and have seen is let's talk about how awesome it is. There's so many trails. Now, I feel like you can get from point A to point B pretty smoothly with all of those types of changes that have happened. Something that I've seen that has been a big, I guess, change that's hitting me personally right now, and this is not limited to just Wasatch County, but certainly we're top 2 for most expensive places to live. And so it used to be, right? Even growing up, it was still pretty reasonable. Mm-hmm. But I think because of what this community is and the people and kind of the roots, this is a beautiful place to live. And it's definitely changed the types of the people that love to move here and the prices that it costs to live here.
The lack of affordable housing is definitely. It is interesting that you bring that up because as a newly married couple, obviously that's top of mind. You want to buy a home, you want to put your roots here, but are you finding that to be an obstacle?
Yes, it's definitely an obstacle that we're constantly, right? We're constantly okay, if we want to live here, we'll have to be a little more patient. It's gonna take some time. But it's also the question of, okay, if this isn't an option, how do we take and preserve all these beautiful things that we've learned here and go build in another thing, which is a hard thought.
Yeah.
But I think
it's will be your home.
Yes.
Blackout.
Yeah. That's so sad about it.
It's a really important conversation. And that's a conversation that I've been hearing over and over again with especially elected officials, was how do we make sure that we are creating housing that allows for our children to move back? And a lot of that is coming back in terms of mixed use housing. So we talk about more apartments, more condos as first time people move in, newlyweds, divorcees, retirees. Maybe that first home isn't a home on an acre like it was in the 80s. Maybe that first home is a townhome or a twin home. Maybe it's a third level condo that they're buying in a stacked flat. And it's hard because a lot of people are saying, that's not what my vision of my first home was going to be.
That's
But the are the incomes that we have in the valley going to sustain that? I mean, I guess that's a question I have for you guys. Both of you are working. You're getting your master's. You're well educated. Are the incomes that are being provided going to be able to sustain people that want to work here and live here? Do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that
Oh,
I feel like depending on what you do, there's so many options now. Well, I mean, really what it comes down to in my mind is it doesn't match whatever your value is, right? Like, for example, like Parker and I, yeah, like we do value the being able to let your kid just run loose in the yard and do their thing because that was something that was really important for us, like in our character development. I mean, the two of us, we got so much energy that, spread that I think it depends. Like, yeah, I think there's opportunities that can sustain some circumstances, but it's the give and take. Like, if I'm going to spend X amount of dollars, do I want to live in a townhome or am I going to move somewhere that allows me to facilitate that type of environment?
or if you know that you want that 1 acre home, you know you're going to have to make six-figure income to be able to afford that.
And that is, yeah, not as probably realistic, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm going to just say this because I thought it was so funny. My mom, the other day, she's like, really, like, it's hard because the average now, you can't just be sometimes an average person, like average income, to have what used to be the average property, right? Got out the big bucks.
And I love that you talk about the value system. Though. If you know that you're going to have to make more money because the lifestyle that you want, that's something you're going to have to get more education or create a business model that allows for that kind of income. But it is the value system. If you want something, you're going to have to work for it. And it's not quite as easy as it was maybe 4 years ago. Yeah, so interesting. Okay, I want to get your take on balancing history of the valley versus new growth. And do you feel like we're doing enough to recognize the history? And I'm looking at you, but I'm really thinking of Grandpa Harvey. He's a big history buff. And I know that he has been working with the Heber Valley Heritage Group Foundation to write the stories of those early settlers. And I'm sure he's told you a few of those stories. Do you think it's enough? Do you think as a young couple that you know enough about the history, having both of you? I mean, the North family's from Midway. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
I certainly, we're in the stage of you start to care more and more about learning about history. So we're definitely always trying to ask questions while we have the people that did live here, right? They did experience that. I think that the part that we're at least talking about, Parker and I trying to navigate is it enough, right? Like we have these stories and these experiences, but there's also a lot of new voices, new people, new perspectives that it's almost like, how do you help them catch that vision while also being open to bringing in these, right? Like community isn't just about, it's about the roots, but it's also about the path of people becoming together, right? People shape the culture of a community. I don't know that that was really a great answer to that question.
And it's so hard to share where Heber Valley was such an agriculture focus. And I would say over the 80s and 90s, we really shifted into education.
Mhm.
And I think the Horners were a big part of that, both of them being school teachers. It, people really struggled to make a living in this valley. And they wanted their kids to get an education and go on and do something. But what I love is so many of those, my age group, came back and said, yeah, we got our education. We saw the world. We want to make our home a better place. And I think that in turn became a more attractive community uh, for people from outside of this valley because all of a sudden our education system was better, our healthcare was better, uh, overall quality of life, trails included, recreational facilities, access to the mountains, all that became the Heber Valley's reason for people to live here.
Mhm.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, I want to pivot and talk about your role at Wasatch County Health Department. So, what does a communications and informatics specialist do?
Ooh, it's a kind of a long name. Simple answer, I guess. My primary role is how can I get the right resources to the right people at the right time?
All right, let's dive into that.
Yes.
So, you're bridging the gap between public health information and the community. So, we talked a little bit earlier about education, and that's always the number one, right? How do we inform the public about health issues, resources? What are some things that you're doing in your role to bridge that gap?
Yeah, so obviously it's not a one size fits all, right? So the way that we reach out and communicate different health prevention messages and promotion things is through different avenues. So we've got environmental health that they're focused on trying to help so many different areas of making sure we have safe food, safe water, safe air, that our environment, that the landscape we live in is good. And then things that like I work on. So I work closely with our health promotion team, our clinical services staff, as well as our health officer. We're always trying to work on making sure that services are people know what services there are for them. We're also working on trying to help improve different things that improve the quality of people's life, right? Like we teach diabetes classes. There's a whole variety of things that I guess my job is trying to support everyone in their different efforts to help get it to the right audience. Does that make sense?
It does. But I'm gonna drill in a little
Yeah,
bit deeper. So you graduated in 2020,
Yes.
the year of the pandemic. I think it's ironic that you still chose public health as your area of study because I would think most high school students that graduated in 2020 never wanted to hear about a public health information officer ever again because that was so like ruined your senior year. And yet it was such a definitive year for you that here you are now working in that field. Let's talk about just your why you chose public health as your area of interest.
This is a beautiful question. I initially didn't, right? Like initially I actually went in with every intention of I wanted to do the nutrition, dietetics, or right, someone helping people with nutrition and understanding their health needs. But the more that I was in school, I'll be honest, like public health, that word meant I did not even know what that meant. And as I studied, I started to see like how like no, I don't actually love being on the prescription side of things, meaning like I'm gonna treat a symptom. I really wanted to like be able to help prevent
The cause.
yes,
Yeah.
right? Like what can I do to help not have this happen? What things can I do? And so my focus and love of family was kind of my what drove my passion of public health was like, okay, how can I make a difference in my own home? And then that led to inspire me to be like, oh, maybe public health is for me, because all of the different things that public health holds together is incorporating ways that I can just try to build a good culture in my home. How can I support healthy homes to then support a healthy community?
That kind of feel about it because it really did. It's a personal decision. Obviously, you go to college and you try to figure out what do I want to do for the rest of my life. But you had an opportunity to kind of look at some of the goals that you had and then realize, hey, these are actually things that mean they're important to me. They have value to them. And so let's talk about, though, uh, Wasatch County Health. What are some of the priorities? I mean, I feel like we're a fairly healthy community. We're a diverse community. We see a lot more Latinos are moving here for service-based jobs. And I think that changes the dynamics a little bit of public health because you're getting more people from other countries that may not have grown up with vaccines or even an understanding of um, just basic resources that were available to them, probably weren't available and now they are. So I don't know. That's a big question.
No, it's a good question.
Let's talk about priorities.
What is the priorities? So, of course, first and foremost, it's the focus is all about how do we improve the community as a whole through different programs or policies or different things to help different individuals. But I think one of the priorities that at least I've seen firsthand is what are the gaps? What are the needs? And that is what drives a lot of the work that we do. How do we fill those gaps? How do we address those needs?
What do you mean by gaps?
So a gap could be, here's an example. One of the things that we worked on over the last 2 years that's been super fun to watch and be a part of is we've recognized through different data and information that's come out that nutrition among seniors has been difficult.
Like we're talking
about access, elderly, senior citizens, right? And as we've navigated seeing kind of what does the data say, and then we've kind of talked to different people to recognize, okay, what's kind of the real context, I guess, community context to that data. We've tried to fill a gap by working with the Wasatch Community Foundation and the Wasatch County Senior Center and local partners to provide produce that's more accessible format for seniors. So they just come to the senior center and they'll get fresh produce. So that's kind of a quick explanation of
just it's something that you haven't had because you think, well, produce is available at the grocery store. It's bananas and oranges and apples, but maybe that's not a decision that they're making because they're using more instant foods because they don't want to cook anymore. They're cooking for one, and that's no fun.
Yeah.
So interesting. So I love that you partnered with some of our community pillars, the Community Foundation, Meals on Wheels, I'm sure, with the senior citizen program. It's probably super successful. But just recognizing that, that was a problem was probably like an eye-opener that many people would not assume that that's a health risk.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that's the thing, right? Like public health, if things are going pretty good, usually it's because you're right. Like usually you don't see or focus in on public health things, services that they do because until something is wrong.
Yeah. Right?
COVID. Yeah. That's a good example.
Do you feel like though that there's, because of the pandemic, we're 6 years away from it now, looking back, I know that there's been lessons learned within the health department about communication and getting information out, which is kind of part of your role now. What are some things that you're finding on a day-to-day that you're doing in your job that maybe wasn't happening 6 years ago?
So of course, like people are always across the system in public health. From my understanding, right, it's been health departments are really focused on their area. And sometimes across the scale, one of the biggest things that I've seen a change in is the whole structured format. of public health is changing because of lessons learned.
Yeah.
There's always been conversations happening from state to public health, but now we're meeting twice a month with all of the local health department communicators to understand what's going on across the state and how can we be more unified so that the messages that do come out aren't as confusing or conflicting, that it's more, yeah, that's the best word, right? Like it's unified.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I remember years ago, they did a anti-drug driving campaign with the witches that they put up on the polls. And it was kind of a little tongue in cheek, like, don't drink and drive. There was also an anti-vaping campaign. It's an interesting public health has changed so many times because it's trying to address the problem of today. Is there kind of a problem or an issue that you're working on now that the community may not be aware of, but they should be?
Ooh, I love this. One of the things, I'll give you a recent example just this week. One of the most, I think, valuable lessons that I think anyone can take away is that there's value in going upstream. And what I mean by that is rather than focusing just on the problem right at hand that's happening right now, there's a lot of value in us trying to go a little more. How can we, can I tell a story?
Yeah,
A little analogy
Sure.
of the day. So I remember in college, they were teaching us about public health and how it's shifting and how we can continue to improve our approach. And they gave the analogy of this stream that's down the river and that there was a bunch of ambulances were going to this one area. There are people falling in the river. And so, rather than just always focusing where it's been in the past, I think public health is, oh my goodness, let's fix this problem that's happening right now. We're going to go treat this person that's in the river. But there was a hiker one day that went up this mountain and saw that there was no barrier on the trail where people were falling in. So one of the things that we're working on right now that people may not be aware of is we're trying to improve our county emergency response plan. So if we have some major emergency right now, this last week, we practiced, who are we talking to? How are we going to communicate this better to the public in the event that this takes place?
Now, are we talking earthquake?
We did a wildfire analogy, just talking about what would happen. And there was all these things happening around the community.
Which we never think will happen, but yet it has happened in many communities.
Mm-hmm.
Some have been better prepared than others.
And that, I think, comes back to what are the things, the daily choices that we make to prepare for those types of experiences? Because if we focus too much on only on treating a symptom, only on treating what's at hand, sometimes we miss those upstream opportunities to make it more clear in the event of an emergency that we are prepared to know how to better help our community stay healthy, stay safe in those events.
Talk to us about the resources. What are resources that are available today at the health department?
Holy buckets.
It's a long
There
list.
is a lot of different resources for people. In a nutshell, I would say if you are looking, I would say that the health department is the resource hub. If you've got a question about something pertinent to housing, you've got questions about health, that you're struggling with different health needs, you're looking for a way to be able to provide certain care for your kids and maybe you don't have health insurance or water quality, or there's a whole host of different,
we're talking
things, right?
vaccines, dental,
Yes.
aches and pains, diabetes. I know
Diabetes, vaping, opioids, there's a whole spectrum of things that I don't even know that I fully understood just how much the health department has to support you. Maybe not just quick participants, women, infant, and children, or a septic tank, right? There's so much. So if you have a question, you want to learn more, come to the health department. When you walk in to the right, there's a whole resource thing of things that may interest or be of help to you.
And the health department location is Center Street and 5th East.
It's 55 South, 500 East. Yeah.
And open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
8 to 5. I feel bad. I wish I'm doing the best job of trying to explain it, but there's
there's so much that really a small staff is kind of taking on this Herculean job of getting that information out to the public. But you're doing a great job. I'm curious, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you see? You could look in the crystal ball. What are some things that you see as an improvement to our community because of the work that you're doing today?
I think that's let's start that. I think that change happens in these small and simple things that happen. And so what the community, I think, just can expect is that there's going to continue to be small and simple improvements that make living healthy the easier choice.
So just like you said, trails. Having more access to trails and even urban trails makes a community healthier.
Yes. Helping the one, right? Helping those, let's say we got 30 people in our diabetes class. You can help those 30 people. Those 30 people are going to go and help their families, help their friends. And so those small impacts of all these different small initiatives that we work on, right? It's, in a sense, perhaps may seem small to some, but it can have big impacts on our family and our communities.
And I love your passion for public health. I have really just enjoyed sitting down with you. Lana and I served together on the Red, White, Blue committee, and I kind of pulled her in when I saw her desire to serve and just be a volunteer in your community. So thank you for that. I think you and your husband are just great, and it's just so fun to see the next generation of leaders that are willing to step up and sometimes do the hard things, right? Sometimes just show up and do the fun things as well. But I love that you're at the health department. You're helping people get healthy and be better educated about the resources. And we wrap up. Is there anything that, as we've been talking, you thought, oh, this is something I want to share? Have we missed anything as we've been discussing kind of your role and your family values?
I think the message that's probably on my heart that I wish that anyone would just remember is that the things that you do in your home, they matter. They matter for who people become, and they matter to your community. And so if you're looking for one way that you can improve your health, look for something that you can do to better support your family, your friends, your neighbors. And by doing so collectively, we can continue to become a better and better version of Heber Valley.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing your story about your family story and the farm. It really is inspiring to see you and your husband coming back and working here. And I hope you make your home here. So for our listeners, thank you for joining us, the Heber Valley Life podcast, where we celebrate the people that make this valley a special place to call home. Rachel Kahler with Community Alliance for Main Street, signing off from Heber Valley Life podcast. Thanks again, Lana.